It's Friday, Jason. Can you believe another week has gone by?
That is so right. I cannot believe. And today, we're going to jump right in to talking about learning how to ride your local bus in 3 steps and why it's such an important piece to community mobility. Let's get into it.
Woohoo.
Well, here we are again, Kathy. We are looking at yet another Friday, another transportation talk, and I'm excited to be with you here today. And we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is learning how to ride buses, and really kind of giving everyone a little recap on how to do that. I don't know about you, but recaps help.
Absolutely. Riding the bus is a skill, and not everybody has it. And it's kind of one of those things that you don't realize that's a skill and that you need. And it's useful for everyone.
Yeah, exactly, Kathy. And as we sit here, we're going to be talking about it. There'll be, I'm sure a lot of questions that pop up, and I really hope people, aren't afraid to go ahead and drop a comment, a question in the feed as the show is ongoing. We will answer them for you as often as we can. And always don't forget to ever, we can call, you guys can call in as often as you'd like to talk to people like myself or even Kathy and all of our other wonderful transportation customer service representatives, and they can help you out through this whole process that we're going to be talking about. But really, Kathy, we're going to start out in our first step of 3. And that first step is really the quintessential first step that you kind of have to take when you're learning how to ride the bus. And that's really finding your route. Okay. And I don't know about you, but when I first started this job and understanding that, boy, I'm going to really have to buckle down and learn, I really made it more difficult than what I really had to, Kathy. And I, I don't know. I struggled when I first started my mobility management job, trying to figure out how and where to start. And you know what? Finding my route was the first thing. So I don't know about you. What was your experience like, when you first started riding buses?
Well, I mean, and I think that it's important to note that I've ridden buses all over the world, and
Yeah.
they're all the same and different. So when people have never ridden the bus before, they might imagine routes and a schedule that looks much like, the New York subway system that
Oh,
is
yes.
basically, or the London, metro.
Looks like
It
a spider web, doesn't it?
Exactly, and it looks like it's all a foreign language, and it's completely undecipherable if you haven't really, done it before. And it's important to remember these aren't skills that you're born with. So these are
Right.
things that you learn as you go along. And our system is much more easily digestible than the New York subway system.
Yeah. And the thing is whether it's the New York, transit district, Chicago, even, those are big cities, or relatively our small county that we have here where SETD covers, the first thing you want to start looking at really, you want to, whether or not you've never ridden buses before or you're just visiting the place for the first time, you'll want to stop, Kathy, and look at the routes and the schedules that the service actually provides. And it's amazing, each and every single public transportation bus service, they all have different styles and different ways to get their information across to their own community. And really, that's kind of how it is, right? Because there will definitely a different geographical stance, different individuals that need, particular routes, and sometimes the routes and schedules mean different things to different people. But for the most part, though, if you just either go online, if you have that ability to, or you can go to their local offices. In our cases, in downtown Astoria or in Seaside, you can grab that all important map, that all important schedule, and really start familiarizing yourself with what this means to you and what it's going to be able to do for you. I don't know what you go through, Kathy, when you're trying to determine how to get to where you need to go, but I always usually end up starting with the schedule. Where am I going to be picking the bus up at what time? And that's really where I need to start at. And or most commonly, most people like to start at too, but I don't know if that's your same situation.
Yes, absolutely. So that, basically those 2 points that you need to identify is where you are and where that
Right.
closest bus stop is.
Yep.
And then you look at the schedule to find out when the next time is that
Yep.
matches up with your departure time and arrival time.
Yeah, and it really is, you do have to study that, right? I mean,
Hmm.
um, we have a very nice route and schedule system, but I haven't memorized it. I don't have all the times memorized. So it's very
Mm-mm.
important that you do study it. And in some cases, you'll want to make sure that you really get, like, for most people, they're really looking, like, for example, how do they get to work? How do they get down
Hmm.
to see family and so forth? It's a very isolated or very specific task they are trying to learn. And to learn the whole schedule, to learn every single route, you can't do that. You have to really start with what you need and then kind of work your way around. So studying that timetable and really finding, like you said, what time the bus is going to get to the particular stop that you need to pick it up at is really important. And it really moves you on into determining, whether or not you're even going to have to transfer buses. So we talk about that
Right.
timetable,
Yeah.
and you never know. You might have to take 2 or 3 buses to get to where you need to be. That does happen, and it's
Well,
quite frequent and normal.
exactly. And, something that you might think is a simple straight line may
Right.
involve a transfer. So, for example, if you're going from Seaside and you want to go up to Astoria, you're going to end up transferring buses most likely because the different buses don't always go the whole route. So, you just need to figure out what it all entails. It's not the same as how the crow flies, there's just that extra step.
Yeah, I remember being in Portland a while back and taking TriMet's system, and I had to make 6 transfers in one route. Now, granted, I was trying to train myself how to be a better bus rider, somebody that could decipher and discern where I needed to go, and actually, in some cases, I tried to even get myself lost just so I could try to find my way back to where I was at. I don't suggest that for everybody, but it was kind of fun for me in that case. But I ended up taking 6 transfers. One of them was a complete and total mistake, but 5 of them were actual transfers that I needed to make in order to get to where I needed to go. So there are those times where you are definitely going to have to take a transfer, and it's important for you to know that in advance before you starting to take your trip for that particular day. So, um, Kathy, we have a website, don't we?
We do, and that's a
Eh,
great place to look at things. So you
Absolutely.
mentioned you could stop by the center and pick up a map, but you can also do all of this research from home and looking at your computer. You go to the transit district's website and you type it in and you look at the schedules and the route map, and you can look at all the things from there, and it will show you, by color coded dots,
Yep.
which bus you're going to need to take. And then also when the colors change, it gives you a hint, heads up, you might have to change transfer buses. And so it's really a great system.
And you know what part of what makes that such a great system too is the transit center, right? And as we move forward and showing people how to ride the bus, one of the most important pieces to that is the fact that we have a transit center. We actually have a transit office, which is in Seaside. So we have 2 locations, one in Seaside and one in Astoria, where you can go to a physical location and pick up a map. You can look at the schedules, but most importantly, you can speak to the customer service representatives and gather information. That's one of the best things about transit centers. You see them all over. They're all over the place, especially for people like us, right, who are looking for those kind of things. They're there, and they're there for, in many cases, to not only be a transfer spot for other buses or to be a gathering location for a variety of different routes, but mostly it's for you to be able to gather information that you don't have, especially during business hours. You will show up, you can go in and talk to somebody and learn about all your routes from a customer service representative. It's a great way to ensure that you're on the right path.
Yeah, and you can use the website in multiple different ways. So if
Sure.
you're a little bit savvy and you know a little bit, you can go in and dig around and find your own routes and find your own timetables and figure that all out. But there's a handy trip planner right there on the website as well that you can use that will help you plan it all.
Have you ever had a question about riding the bus? Here at the Transit Center, there are many resources to help you find your way. Come ride the bus with us. The Transit Center waiting area is also a great place to get out of the weather and pick up a schedule of our bus routes. If you have any questions about our services, ask a friendly customer service representative.
So now we learned where to find information about planning a trip and riding the bus, and
That's right.
how to plan a trip to ride the bus. But what about paying for that trip when you ride the bus?
That's a lot of stuff that people tend to forget about, right? Boarding and paying the fare seem relatively easy. Just to simply say that is usually enough for some people. But I can tell you, for myself and for some people that I have trained that I know really well, and I hope they're listening to this, it takes a little bit more than just simply saying boarding here, get on this bus, and then pay this fare, right? So one of the first things inevitably get asked is, oh my gosh, how much does it cost to ride the bus? And I can very excitedly say, because I'm so happy that we did this, a couple of years ago now, I think, right? The board at SETD said, we're just going to make riding the bus $1. It used to be $1.75 to get on the bus, but making it $1, there we go. It has helped out in so many ways. And I'll tell you what, right now, I know people might want to just say, hey, look, that's only 75 cents less. That's not that big of a deal. But I'll tell you what, there are people out there each and every single day where 75 cents can make a pretty big deal. So having it as $1 definitely helps us out. So make sure you have that fare ready before you get on the bus, Kathy.
And you can use 4 quarters.
Yes.
And you can use a $1 bill.
Absolutely.
But you shouldn't use a $5 bill.
Actually, you can't, because the bus drivers will not give you change.
Well, you can, but then you paid $5 for your bus ride.
Absolutely, you paid $5 for your bus
that
ride.
is an almost universal thing on all bus systems, and I can say that is very true, not just here in Clatsop County for Sunset Empire. It's true all over the world. If you are going to ride public transit, most often they want you to have the exact fare, and so that is super important to have exact change. And so you just have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like being prepared, to have your fare. Now you know where you need to go. You've looked at your route maps, you've looked at your schedules, you know what time you need to be somewhere. That's where we come into, when should you arrive at your bus stop or the location that you're going to catch the bus at. For SETD, make this a reminder to everybody, SETD allows you to do a flag stop. It means you can wave your hand in the air like this. As long as it's a safe location for the bus to pull off, it will pull off to pick you up. Okay. So
along the route.
Yes, indeed. But for most organizations, that doesn't happen in that way. So you'll want to make sure that you get to your location, to wherever you're going to catch the bus at, or in most cases to the bus stops, at least 5 minutes early. And look, and I say that knowing darn well that it's pretty difficult for some people to be on time. But in this case, you want to, because in SETD's case, we don't have buses running every 15 minutes. Right. We don't have buses running every 30 minutes, Kathy, right? So if you miss that bus at 10 a.m. to get to work, it's more than likely you're not going to see another bus until 11 o'clock.
Right. So on that note, in that arriving early thing, I just have a little story to tell. Recently, I took a trip, and I used public transit in Portland. In Portland, when you ride public transit, you don't use money and you don't have a ticket. They have an app that you use. And I had it on my phone and I was all ready. And I went to the state max station to get on the max. And it was the first time I was using the app. And I went to scan my app with my ticket, and the scanner didn't work. And because it was the first time, I got all nervous, and was it my phone, and
Yeah.
was it the scanner? And so I needed an extra 5 minutes. I actually waited and let one of the Max trains go by me because I didn't know what to do.
Oh
And
man.
so, Jason, we have an app so that people can use that if they don't have exact change too, right?
Absolutely. It's the Token Transit app. You can use that, purchase your fare ahead of time, and have it on your phone, on your smartphone. And then when you get to the bus driver or boarding the bus and the bus driver asks you for your fare, you can just show him the little icon. I'm not going to show you right here. There might be a little overdub here that's playing and showing you, but the reality is that all you got to do is just show them that smartphone, and they'll read it and let you on the bus. It doesn't take hardly any time at all. It's actually a little quicker than having to stuff something into the dollar bill collection machine.
And I've got to say, in my mind, that also is that little bit easier than scanning, like depending upon a machine to be able to
Sure.
scan something on your phone.
That
Is
is
that
so
if you
true.
have a driver that can just look at your ticket on your phone, it just is a little bit easier, and it's a little less nerve-wracking in my mind. And so,
And the thing is, it just becomes much more of an accessible service for people when you can make things more streamlined and easier. But as far as that is concerned, though, the next thing that we really have to focus in on, Kathy, is literally focusing in on the reader board on your bus as it's approaching. And this is really important, not only for here in SETD, but anywhere around the world. You'll want to make sure that as you see a bus approaching, that it reads up on the reader board, wherever they have it, in the front window or on the side of the bus. In some cases, you'll want to make sure that you know you have the correct bus. Because if I'm telling you what, especially in those bigger cities, if you, Kathy, you had that experience, right? You missed the bus, and next thing, so read the reader board and make
or
sure
you
that the
don't pay
approaching bus is
attention, and
correct.
suddenly you're getting on a bus that's going a different direction
Oh,
than you thought it was going
absolutely.
to. It's nothing like
Absolutely.
getting on the bus thinking you're going to Disneyland and you
Yep.
end up at the airport,
Yep.
very disappointing. So
And Kathy, as we go down this list and to show people kind of in a way of how to board the bus and stuff, we've talked a lot about paying your fare and all that. But prior to that, we have to also now understand that there's an etiquette to boarding the bus. We have to actually, before you attempt to board the bus, the driver's going to want to make sure that he or she lets everyone else off first. So waiting for other passengers to get off the bus first is what needs to happen. And then you can get on and get ready to pay your fare.
yes. And depending upon which system you're riding on, that may look different. And so on our systems here locally, usually the people are getting off the bus using the same door as you are using to get on. And some other systems, you board on it in a different door than the riders are deboarding. And sometimes it's, board in the back door and depart in the front door. And sometimes it's the other way around. And so it's just a matter of getting there early, making sure you can pay attention, and then being able to communicate your needs. Just ask questions.
Some people would say, look up from your cell phone from time to time. I see a lot of people sometimes that are just kind of buried in their cell phone and just see the bus pull up, and then they just almost zombie-like walk right up and forget, hey, there's somebody getting on the bus and we don't want to bump into them.
But mentioning your cell phone just is a good reminder that transit apps that allow you to pay for your fare and plan your trip are available in many places. And so if you're planning a trip to someplace you've never been before, look it up, see what, just put it in and ask the questions, and you may be able to pay it all in advance and get it all taken care of.
And Kathy, how important do you think it is now that you're on the bus, you've paid your fare and all that? Why do you think it's important to communicate with your driver? That's the next step here as we move on. You kind of want to connect with your driver, right? And why is that important, do you think?
Well, I mean, especially if you're in an area or you're doing something that you've never done before, you're in an area you haven't been, communicating with your driver is, the inside line to those insider tips, because the driver knows the route. They know the stops, they know where they're going, they know where you're going if you tell them, and they can help you.
Well,
they're there to help.
Kathy, communication is so important, and in learning how to board the bus and paying the fare, it seems simple to talk about, but I'll tell you what, we're going to move into another video that we're going to watch really quickly. It's a very important topic that we don't talk about that often, is learning how, while you're boarding the bus, that anyone can use our ADA approved lift. So just stay tuned and we'll be right back here in just a minute. Did you know that ADA acceptable buses have lifts for wheelchairs? Did you also know that if you're not in a wheelchair but need a little help to get up on a bus, you can also ask your bus operator to use the lift? It's easy and safe. Step onto the ramp, stand still, and let the lift get to the top. Walk into the bus and find a place to sit. And if you need a little additional help, do not forget, please, to give us a call and ask for travel training. Come ride the bus with us. That was really cool to see that anyone can request to use the lift. I'm telling you, that's something that not a lot of people know. In fact, I don't think anyone really understands that. Hey, listen, if your knees are sore, man, use the bus lift. It's okay. Just ask to use it and they'll help you out. All right.
Yeah. You don't need any specific like extra badge or, there's no certification or testing or nothing.
Yep.
If you twisted your ankle, right. If you twisted your ankle or you've got a bad back or, whatever, just ask.
Just ask. And, listen, now we're on the bus, Kathy. We're getting to the end of this show, but I think we're into one of the most important parts is really understanding about actually riding on the bus. We don't have a whole lot of time to talk about it, so we're gonna really get into it and knowing when to get off the bus. First thing you do when you get on that bus, you've paid your fare, you're ready to go. You have to sit down somewhere, don't you? But you have to sit in an open seat. And I don't know about you, sometimes our buses can get kind of crowded, especially if you're in a bigger city. Have you ever experienced that before, Kathy?
Yes, sometimes it's a little tricky to find a spot, and it's good to remind yourself that whatever spot you pick, whether it's sitting, that there's a seat available or not, stand and hold on so that you can be secure and know that you are not going to go flying when the bus starts and stops. If you are standing and a seat opens up, you can always move. If you are sitting and somebody else gets on that you feel like needs a seat more than you can always get up. So there are choices.
And I like the fact that there are choices because, we want people to be as safe as possible, but we also have to remember too, and you've mentioned that, is if there's somebody else that needs to have that seat, and you'll come across that, your bus driver may even walk up to you and ask you if you could get up out of your seat so that somebody perhaps with a disability or an older adult who has maybe limited mobility to use your seat. So just be willing to understand that, you may be getting up and down, especially on a crowded bus. But Kathy, there's a very important thing that we need to talk about next. Oh, I have a bag, right?
You do have a bag. That looks like a heavy bag.
I have a bag. It can get very heavy, and it can get kind of wide. It's a pretty big bag, right? But you know what? The thing is we're not supposed to put this on the seat next to us, right? We're not supposed to set this down right here next to us and take up two seats because we want to put our bag on another seat. We have to either be able to keep this, when we get on the bus, we don't want you to take up a whole lot of space because we might be driving the community. That's what we're doing. We're driving other people. And so we want to make sure that you are not taking up a whole lot of space. And in fact, that you're really kind of within your seat with everything that you have. This is on your lap, or some bags will fit underneath your seat as well too. So please make sure you don't take up a whole lot of space. There are others that might need it.
Either with your things or with your body. So, I mean,
that's true.
You don't go doing this spread eagle and stretching out. I mean,
yes.
Then you're
yes as a no.
right. Then to me, that you just want to be respectful of other people's needs and spaces as well as your own.
And now that you're sitting on this bus, right, and you've got your bag and everything is within, you're doing everything right. You're looking at the scenic views as you're going by. Maybe perhaps you're going past Haystack Rock and Cannon Beach, right?
Beautiful view.
Many, beautiful things that you can do while you're on the bus and looking around and stuff. Or hey, even if you're just checking the news on your phone, I don't care. The point is en route, you're going to your location, and there's an important step that you need to remember. And this is what we're going to talk about. When it's time for you to get off, you need to be ready to get off. And there are a couple of ways to do that. Either you're getting off at a bus stop where the bus stops all the time, or just like what we talked about earlier about flag stopping, there's a cord that you can pull on the bus. It's yellow on our buses. I think it's yellow on all buses. And
sometimes
you pull
it's
that
red.
cord. Sometimes it's red, yes. And it alerts the driver to when it's time to stop. And if it's a safe place to stop, the driver will pull off, and then you can get off at your destination. That's pretty convenient, right, Kathy?
Extra convenient if you've told the driver where you're going to be wanting to get off. Then they will know to stop at the next closest place that's safe to get off and not the next stop. So that's just another reason why communication is key.
Communication is so key, because it not only gets you to where you need to go, but also keeps you safe. Okay. And when you've now stopped that bus and you're so excited about getting off and going to whatever destination you're going to, I know that if I were getting off the bus and I'm at a bowling alley or whatever, and I'm excited to go bowling, I may not think about grabbing onto the handrails or watching where I am stepping. Some of those steps are pretty tall steps, right? And so you'll want to make sure, and I know it's a simple thing, but you have to exit safely. Use the rails. 3 points of contact at the very least. Please get down on stable ground and be cautious.
And just again, if you need help, don't be afraid to ask for that lift so that you can get on and off the bus safely.
Yep. And how often, when we've gotten off of the bus, actually, I have to admit, I think I have gotten off the bus a few times and not looked around to observe my surroundings. You really have to be careful when the bus operates in traffic. It just does. And it drops you off in most cases at a curb, which is usually in most cases next to a road. So you just want to make sure that you exit safely, look around, make sure that you're watching for traffic and you're going to be safe. And don't walk in front of the bus right after you get off. Let the bus leave first before you consider crossing the road. Okay.
And that's a good reminder that, public transportation buses are not school buses. So they don't wait for you to cross the street in front of them, and they don't have big flashing lights that stop traffic. If you're boarding or deboarding a bus, that's the time to put your phone in your pocket and not be immersed in a screen. Pay attention to your surroundings. Make sure you've picked up all your belongings and you've gathered them up and you're taking them with you and you're being safe. So wait for the bus to pull in safely and stop completely when you're getting ready to board. And then when you deboard, you stop, you step away, you let the bus completely pull away before you start moving around again.
And yes, you did, because yes, you could. That's the whole thing. You've gotten to where you need to go. Okay, just take a look at this next video and then we'll be back to finish up.
Do you need to get to work, school, or even to the doctor's office and don't want to drive a car? How about visiting family members across town or planning that weekend trip to see Tillamook or Columbia County? Maybe a trip to Portland is in your future, and who wants to do all of that driving, right? You can do all these things by riding the bus and letting somebody else do the driving. If you need a little help figuring it out, just give us a call and ask somebody for assistance. Come, ride the bus with us.
Well, Jason, now that just really summed it up. Yes, you can. We've really done it. We've done the 3 different segments on the different steps that it takes to be able to ride the bus. And you summed it up with the yes, you can. Such a great show. I want to remind everybody that not only is this show here for you, but we are too. Give us a call. We can help you plan a trip. We can help you organize a trip. We're here for you.
Absolutely, Kathy. I'm so happy that we were able to talk about it. It's such an important issue. We really got right into talking about learning how to ride the bus, your local bus, the 3 steps, keeping it simple, and really it is such an important piece to what it is that we do, which is we transport our community. We want our community to be mobile. So I'm just so glad that we had this chance to talk about it. And I really look forward to just seeing how people might call us and get transportation travel training in the near future.
Well, I can't believe it's been another Transportation Talk Friday, and we've done another great show. Thank you so much to everybody that's been here to join us with all of these tips and new transitions and things and ways we're doing things. We hope you're enjoying the message and you really are getting some value out of it. Don't forget that part of this is our interaction with you. And so we are excited for you to interact with us. If you liked the show, click that like button, share it with some friends. If you have a reason that you want to use this video for something, give us a shout and we can work that out, or we can even come and do a live presentation for you. So
that would be so much fun.
Yes, we're really looking forward to the way the weather is shifting and how beautiful it is out there. Get out there and ride your bus, and we'll see you around.
Take care, everybody.